Hi folks, and welcome to Eggs and Games, a
Yeah.
Oh,
Lovely.
we should keep that in. That was early. We
Very
should
nice.
keep that in. Okay,
Mm.
take two. Take two.
Yeah.
And,
Take two into the shower.
hi folks, and welcome to Eggs and Games, a relaxed monthly check-in between two slightly older British friends talking life, gaming, and basically whatever other nonsense comes to mind. We got a fun show for you this month, including our highlights from the summer showcase season and thoughts on our first game of the month, which you'll remember, hopefully, is Animal Will. And we'll be introducing July's game. But let's start with some quick intros. First up, don't forget that between these monthly episodes, you can find us at Eggs and Games. That's ACHESANDGAMES on X, Threads, most social platforms. We've got a YouTube page as well if you want to come and check out our short form videos, or on our Facebook page by searching Eggs and Games, which is where most of the interaction is happening, and thank you for that. Or you can email us at eggsandgamespod@gmail.com. I'm Giles Nicholson. Giles went west on most things, including socials, Xbox, and PS5. And joining me as always is my good friend James Hapes. Hi James, how's it going?
Good evening, Giles. It's going okay, actually. It wasn't going so well an hour ago when England were losing, but then they came back to snatch it in extra time.
Indeed.
So that was nice. So the heart rate has just dropped. I've changed out my England shirt so as not to offend any other UK nationals, and now we're ready for action. So yeah, I'm James, as Giles mentioned. I'm on all socials as You Have to Laugh with the number 2, as you must know by now after 8 months of doing this. No one ever goes there, so it doesn't really matter too much anyway. I also run a Facebook page, as we know, and a bit of Instagram, and a new website, which we'll talk a bit about later as well, which is terribly exciting. We'll give you the details for that one a bit later. On PlayStation Network, I'm Jamesy Boy 1978, and on Xbox, I'm Jamesy Boy 78 with 4 random numbers afterwards. So just look out for you. I was going to say look out for my picture on Xbox, but I don't have a picture, so look out for something and pick some random numbers and hope you get the right one. So that's me. Good evening.
Excellent. Yes. No offence to any Slovakian listeners. I don't believe, according to our Spotify stats, that we have millions, but I'm sure there's someone out there. You guys, I think, probably played better than us for quite a chunk of the game.
Comfortably.
And as you will be able to deduce listening to this on Friday or after it drops, we are recording a little bit early, and we are coming in hot because we did just come straight from extra time.
Coming in hot, love it.
So there might be a few rough edges around I guess edges. Where else are rough edges but around the edges? But anyway, maybe I'll even be able to edit this out by Thursday. Who knows? James, how's your month been? What are you up to?
How's it been, Giles? What month has it been? It's been June, hasn't it? So yeah, halfway through the year, crazy. So just a few days ago, it was halfway to Christmas, and therefore just under halfway to my birthday, which is Christmas Eve. For anyone who wants to save up and start getting ready for getting me a nice present for Christmas, that'd be lovely. It's also Father's Day we had during June, so we did a few bits and pieces for that one, and I got a very nice, very helpful charging set from Joshua, which enables me to wirelessly charge up my phone, Galaxy Watch, and earbuds all on the same device right by my bed. So it's probably battering me with radiation and some waves of some description, but it's charging my devices, so that's nice. We also, I think I mentioned last month, didn't we? We were going to see Girls Aloud. It turns out it was Birmingham, it wasn't Belgium after all, or the Bahamas, so we went correctly to Birmingham. And had a lovely time. So it was the first time we've seen him in about 10 years, I think, since the 10 tour, whenever that was, 13 years ago maybe. And obviously we were down to 4 members because Sarah passed away back in 2019, just before lockdown. And it was really good, actually. It was a little bit emotional in parts. They put up some nice views of Sarah and imagery from the past videos. Not my Sarah, obviously Sarah Harding from Girls Aloud. Makes a lot more sense. But the performance was great. Everyone seemed to be singing better than they did years ago. So everyone seemed a bit more confident and a bit more relaxed. And there's a nice, happy environment in Birmingham. So me and Sarah had a lovely time on that one. I've lots more things to talk about, but we'll go to you, G. What have you been up to for some of your bits?
That sounds great. I'm quite jealous because I saw them at Wembley. They were supporting Coldplay. It was the weirdest lineup. It was Coldplay gig, but it was White Lies, Girls Aloud, Jay-Z, and Coldplay, which was really, really good. They were amazing live, and when they announced a reunion tour, I was a bit slow to the ticket, so I didn't think about going necessarily. But then, as they've been touring, they've been playing a lot of their songs, and I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a really good time. We went to see Ed Byrne very locally. Went with Craig, actually. one of the people we've probably mentioned on previous podcasts, and a good friend of both of ours. And it was a good show. It was called Tragedy Plus Time. So it was about, I think that's a Mark Twain quote, about comedy. And it was sort of covering some quite dark material, but very funny, very touching, very brilliantly done. Big fan of his stuff. So it was good. Recommend that if he's still touring anywhere near you, if you're listening. Went to Poole with Hannah's mum and dad, which was very nice. Poole. Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. We stayed at the RNLI hotel, or their training venue, and they've got some hotel rooms, really good. Recommend it if you're in the area. And money goes to a good cause. And also had Craig and Mags over for dinner, which was really nice. And hopefully one day, James, we'll get you and Sarah over tea. Maybe in the not too distant future. Football not allowing.
Oh, yeah. We've literally arranged a date, haven't we? But it doesn't clash, does it? Did it clash?
It does. I think it's
lovely.
But we'll work that one out offline. So yeah, really good. Anything you missed? Sorry, James. I
loads, Giles. Loads. We're busy. Very busy people. Very busy people. Obviously, the building work's been continuing. We're 2 and a bit months in now, so it's massively exciting. If I showed you out the window, which I won't because then the whole setup will fall apart. But there's tiles on the roof outside now on a single-story rear extension, and the second story of the side extension is coming along nicely. So there's definitely the roofs around to raise. In other words. And internally it looks quite nice as well. They started boarding walls and all sorts of jazz, so very exciting. So I think we've got about another month and a half before the building work itself's done, then moving on to fitting the kitchens and all that malarkey. That's been good fun. But also, just to get in touch with the building part of me, we've been doing some raised beds over the last 2 days. So I got really confused because the message popped on my screen and I was like, ugh. So, yeah, me and Sarah have been building raised beds over the last couple of days to make our garden a bit nicer. Obviously, our garden's trashed from the builders' muddy boots and the awful weather we've been having. But yeah, got some raised borders now. We'll finish it off tomorrow, hopefully, and that's been quite nice. So those bits. We've also been embracing how old we are by the fact that Joshua will be going to secondary school in a year and a little bit. So we've had to start looking at secondary schools now. So we looked at a school that me and you, Biff, used to go to, Giles, many years ago. We wore suits and used to go to school on a Saturday, but not anymore. So that was interesting. So Josh is going to take the test for that one. We've also looked at some other local secondary schools as well. It's all very different. Some have been very forceful in the open evenings, sort of emphasising that if you turn up a minute late, then you'll be in detention and your parents will disown you and will be kicked out of school and put in a vat and fried. And other schools have been really gushy. And one odd school last week, slightly further away, but still nearby, they had sample lessons for us to go to. So they set up 3 sample lessons, which you went to with the child and parents. So we made a clay pot together. In one lesson, we learned about fair trade chocolate in another lesson, which is quite interesting. And we drew around our hand in the 3rd lesson to write down the things that we enjoy doing, the things we're good at, and the people that are most important to us. So it's quite a strange evening. Sort of Joshua having spent an entire day at school to then come home and go back to a different school to try out some sample lessons was a bit odd. But now, we have to go to the actual open evening in September so we can collect our fired clay pot. So unless we turn up for the open evening, we don't get our clay pots, and that's kind of a bring you back structure. That was interesting. Yeah, I know. We don't have to go to the school necessarily, but we have to go back to the clay pot. So it's really weird. It feels like Joshua's really young, but then suddenly he's going to secondary school, and then that means that we're really old, and the whole thing starts to crumble around us. But there you go. So mainly building, schools, cut of TV things I mentioned in a minute, but we've also been looking into holidays, which is quite exciting. I think I mentioned we're going away next May half term to Mallorca to see some of our friends, Hannah and Chris, and Isla, their daughter, who went away over last year. So that'd be nice. We've also been looking into going somewhere this summer holidays finally, because we've been waiting for the building work to crack on, waiting for my mum's back to be fixed a little bit, and now we're finally going to book some holiday for the middle of August. So holidays are always fun to look forward to. So finally, we are nearly pressing the button. We're down to 2 hotels to choose between. Joshua likes them both, so we've got to decide tonight after the podcast which hotel we're going for. So this time next month on the podcast, we will be decided and ready for going.
Wow. Should we put it up as our poll? Or, oh no, you have to decide tonight, don't you?
Yeah. A bit late for the one person on the poll to respond in 2 weeks' time.
I thought I was going to get to choose where you went on holiday then, because I'm the only person who responds to us.
Well, you still can do if you want to.
I still can, okay.
We'll ignore it. We ignore the recommendation.
The second one. I choose the second one.
Yeah, good. Are you going to talk about TV in a minute? Because there's a couple of TV things I wanted to mention. Are you going to talk about that?
You go for it. Yeah, we can talk
Yeah.
about TV. We keep
TV.
telling ourselves we'll finish early, but who knows?
No, I listen to the gaming part anyway, so we've got to try and pad this part out.
Yeah, that is true.
Everyone turns off in a few minutes.
No, we've got. Thank you, listeners. Just cutting in. Anyone who enjoys the gaming podcast,
we
will put little chapters in the chat. In the listing, so you can skip ahead. But we do have some people who listen all the way through. It's heartwarming as much as it's remarkable. Thank you.
Yeah, it's remarkable to me every month. But even I listen for it. So fair play to me. So I was going to say, TV-wise, The Bear. We talked about The Bear last time, didn't we? The Bear kicked off again. So I watched episode 1. That's really slow and really strange. Very different first episode. Yeah, no, it's just really slow and really strange. There's no spoilers, Giles. But be prepared for it to be really slow and really strange. That was it.
You could see the fear in my face as I thought you were going to tell me what happened.
No, there's still 37 minutes of enjoyment, but as you know with The Bear, it's a bit of an odd series. So it's odd, but interesting. So I recommend looking forward to The Bear again. It's on season 3 for those who haven't watched the first 2 seasons. So very much recommend the first 2 seasons, which is probably on Disney Plus, I guess. On Disney Plus? Yeah. On Disney Plus, wonderful. No sponsorship, so Bear.
No.
But season 3, catch it. And we've also been watching a fascinating program called The Nevermets. Don't know if you've heard of The Nevermets, Giles.
No, I saw the splash screen, I think, on Channel 4 or something, one of the streaming services, and I thought, that looks intriguing, and the sort of shit that James is going to watch.
A splash screen? I've never heard of a splash screen before.
I might have to edit out that as well. I can't remember if we can get away with one swear on the episode, so...
Oh, we did. No, Sarah listened... When we come on to that section, I mentioned that Sarah, my other half, listened to them recently, and she noticed that one episode did say that word a few times.
Excellent. Okay.
And she was disgusted. So I'm not going to say it myself. I'm just going to frown at you for saying it and wag my finger at you.
It's not big or clever, kids.
No, it's embarrassing. It's a sign of a lack of intelligence, Giles, by the way. So The Nevermets is an interesting concept. So it follows a group of people who have been dating online but have never actually met the person, hence Nevermets. It's quite clever. Very clever title.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So there's some that have been dating for like 3 years and have never met. And there's one couple that have only been dating for like 2 months online and had never met. And we're trying to work out how could you only have been dating for 2 months but manage to get on a TV show and get a trip out to the States to meet your other half after 2... Anyway, let's not spoil the premise. But some people were disappearing off to like Jakarta and somewhere in India and other places to meet their other halves that they've been with for 3 years but never actually met. And one of them got like engaged. One of them's going back to get married, having met them for the first time. So it's a fascinating insight into the lives of people that meet people online but don't actually realise that they live like thousands of miles away. And I don't know whether it's because they couldn't meet people in the UK or whether they like the attraction of people they never get to see. In some ways that can be attractive with some people in the world that never get to see their partners. But it's an interesting series, so I'd recommend it if you want something a bit different, kind of like a dating show, but obviously it's already happened and it's a bit odd. So me and Sarah have been quite enjoying that one over the last few weeks. Those are my 2 TV bits, Giles. My only last bit before we skip on to the proper stuff is Reading Football Club. We always talk about them each month because we're both from Reading and I support Reading Football Club, obviously. We both do, but I'm a bit more passionate. Yeah. They finally announced today that they're getting rid of the women's team academy and they're demoting the women's team down to the 5th tier of women's English football because they can't afford to pay the money to put them in the Championship, which is where they are at the moment. It's a sad time. So I used to go and watch them. Me and Joshua went to a few games, as me and Sarah, and I followed them around the country for a couple of years in the good times, and now they're disappearing. So they're going to play the likes of local bits like playing against Ascot and Twyford and Maidenhead and Tin Pot teams. So it's going to be very odd. So it's very disappointing for Reading Football Club again, as always. And I know a few of our listeners are Reading fans, so I'm sure they share my disappointment in how it's all gone horribly wrong still after a year and a half of trying to get rid of our chairman. Very annoying.
Yeah, it looked promising, didn't it, a few months ago? We had a potential bidder. It looked like it was all going through, and then nothing's come of it. And I think football fans in general seem quite switched on in terms of whether it's solidarity or it's just the realisation that could be any of us. You know, we've seen other clubs managed quite so badly, and it only takes one really terrible owner to completely gut aside. So yeah, very sad for the women. The men's team still kind of in limbo, and just a general bad vibe around the whole thing. Let's hope that he does finally sell up and we can turn a page on that one.
Yeah, but apart from that, everything has gone well in June, so let's talk about some games and
there we go.
stuff, I guess.
Yeah, something positive. I've not watched anything of particular note, so we'll come back to that and we'll skip on because naturally, I think, as you said, time to talk about games. Although, just before we do, any other sort of podcast updates? You mentioned the website. Is now a good time to
yeah, it's a great time, Giles. It's always a good time to talk about the website. I put so much effort into it and poured my love into it. Yeah, some people might know that I like creating websites over the years. I've had a couple of blogs and stuff over the years. So I thought it was a natural extension of the podcast to create a website as a receptacle, not reciprocal, receptacle for storing some of our videos and short stuff that Giles mentioned earlier. Obviously, it's on YouTube as well, but if you prefer it in a website format, now you can. But also contain some content like reviews and stuff. So the plan is that whenever we talk about a game on here that we liked or one of our games of the month, etc., we can then write a little review on the website to attract people towards it so they can see our views in literary format rather than with the power of their ears, so they can use their eyes and ears. So we're trying to appeal to every sense on the podcast here. So far we've got the Disco Elysium review, which I talked about last month, which is a great game. Can't remember if I finished it last month, but I don't think I did, so I'll talk about that again in a minute. And there's also a review of Harold Halibut, which we both discussed at length last month, as to how frustrating but nice it was in equal measures. So they're both on the website now. When Giles is less busy, he will do his reviews as well, so you can have like 2 views on one game, 2 for the price of 1. No other magazine does it. I've done that ever, so it's going to be amazing. So on there is memes, reviews, lots of stuff. So I can very much recommend it. It's very new, only came out last week, so be an early adopter and pop to the website, which is at, obviously, www.akesandgames.co.uk.
Excellent. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a good theme going on with our socials, our Facebook page, our email address and our website. Email being the slight outlier with the random Aches and Games pod because some swine got in there first. But yeah, find us most places on Aches and Games, and please do check out the website. It's really good, James. Well done. And yes, I will try and get some of my stuff up there at some point too, because I really used to enjoy writing reviews, and hopefully I will find the time again. Social wise, we had some new followers, particularly on Threads. So hi if you are listening, having found us on Threads. A few new listeners because our numbers have gone up a bit again this month, which is wonderful. So welcome to them too. And just to call out one particularly lovely comment we had on our YouTube video, not a sentence that most people get to say because it seems like the only comment people tend to put on YouTube videos is some kind of abuse or telling people that they were rubbish. But we had a lovely message. I'm sure we'll get some of those. But yeah, we had a lovely message. We posted our main topic from last month, which is about why people might be playing older games and why we tend to play older games. And Low Battery Gaming, who sounds like my sort of person, needs that recharging kit that you got from Joshua, I think, James. So great video, guys. Keep it up, which short and simple, but a lovely thing to say. And really, those comments, those reviews, sharing our podcast, telling people about what we do, it really does make a difference. So thank you to Low Battery Gaming for taking the time. Thank you to all of you listening, and please keep sharing the good news. Have you got a dog in your house, James?
No, we've got a dog outside our house in the neighbour's back garden. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I heard a bark. We're going to be dog sitting. I don't know if it's going to be, no, it'll be after the next podcast. So I might need to think about timing for that record, but we'll get to that one. Excellent.
My plan is that every time we have a game of the month, I will then put the relevant background noise in the background, you see. So when we're talking about animal well, I'll put some animals out in the garden to make some nice countryside noises. So it's all planned.
Well, as you say, time to move on to our regular what we've been playing. And as James said, last month's game of the month was Animal Well. So it was a game that we pick or listeners can suggest something off one of the streaming services or the subscription services rather. So PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass. We'll both give it a go. Couple of hours or so. If we're enjoying it, obviously we can crack on, but that's our commitment. We'll give it a proper go, give it a try, see what we think, and hopefully then have a chance to talk about it in the next episode. So Do you want the official version of Animal Well, James, before we give our thoughts? What it's apparently about, it says, there's more than what you see. Explore a deep, interconnected labyrinth and unravel its many secrets. Collect items to manipulate your environment in surprising and meaningful ways. Encounter creatures both beautiful and unsettling, and try and survive what lurks in the dark. Is that how you'd describe it? And what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it pretty much covers it. It's a very accurate description. I like it. Really good. So yeah, I think we agreed to put a minimum of 4 hours into it. A really random number, 4 hours you came up with last month. So I've put exactly 4 hours into it. According to my PlayStation monitor, so I'm delighted that I've performed. I put them all in the last week as well, as the podcast is approaching in my normal homework style of knocking it out at the last minute. But I really liked it. I wasn't too sure at first because it is so retro looking. I mean, if I whipped my Spectrum out of the cupboard and plugged it in, then you wouldn't notice any discernible difference between that and the PlayStation 5, apart from the fact that Spectrum was worth a little bit less and was quite old. So the graphics are very much 8-bit, if you can even call them 8-bit. It might be 4-bit, might be 1-bit. Who knows? There's no bits at all, half-bit. So the graphics are really low-key. There's not many colours. You couldn't always make out what's happening in that lo-fi type way, which does kind of play into the excitement of the game, because there's lots of secret bits to find and walls to jump through that you can't really see they're there because the graphics are so bad, but obviously that's a design feature rather than just it being awful. And you start off with no sort of instructions, there's no guide, there's no like intro. You normally get some kind of guide person in the background telling you some stuff. Yeah. But this one, you just pop out of a flower, don't you? And you're like a blob, like a potato. Very, very reminiscent of Dizzy on the Spectrum back in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, Dizzy egg.
Yeah, Dizzy the egg. So it looks like a sort of a fat egg, but brown, so around potato.
Yeah.
Pops out of a potato plant, and then you're left to your own devices. You can go left or right, you can jump, and that's pretty much it. With no clue as to where you're going and what you're doing and why. So you just wander around gradually, try not to die. You pick up some things that are lying around that you can then use to scare off other things so they don't kill you, which is great. And then gradually, without giving too much away, you find a map, and then suddenly the game makes a lot more sense. You can see stuff on the map as to where you're going and where you've been before and where you're aiming to. And every now and again, you get this random little envelope thing that you can save your game on, which is probably a telephone. Is it a telephone?
Yeah, telephone.
Yeah. Save game telephone, obviously, because you always save games up using a telephone.
In a well. If you're a potato.
Yeah. And even the graphics for that is awesome, because you just walk up to this telephone, it says save, you press yes, and it makes some beepy noises, and the envelope spins away, and you're saved at that point then, so all your progress is there. And every time you then die, you go back to this place where you were on the telephone. And I do really like it. Like I said, 4 hours into it, I still have no idea what's going on, or why, or how to finish it, or where to go. But I've explored quite a lot of the map, and I felt quite rewarded every time we discover a new little bit, because some bits are quite hard to discover. And it's quite a puzzly type game, so it's kind of a puzzly platform, isn't it? You jump around a lot, and you need to get the jumps accurate, and you jump on certain things like bubbles and the like, and you evade certain bits. But some things you've got no idea how you're going to do, and then you come to various parts in the game. Like in the description, the very accurate description, you pick up things that you find in chests, and that enables you to do extra things that you couldn't do before. And those extra things, in turn, enable you to get to extra places that you couldn't reach before. So without giving too much away, you run around aimlessly, you find some things, you then can find other things, and eventually you find so many things that the game says, great, well done, probably. So really good game, but graphically abysmal, sound abysmal. If you did one of those proper review charts, it'd be graphics 1, sound 1, gameplay 10. So really, really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and 4 hours in, I'll happily give it another good few hours to try and finish it. What about yourself, G? Similar views, I'm guessing? Yeah,
quite similar, and I think that's the test, isn't it? With these games, we're going to. I'm sure there will be some where 4 or however many hours is probably enough, and we call it a day. But yeah, likewise, I am very keen to finish. I don't trust PlayStation's timing. PlayStation's sense of time is I think worse than mine, because I'm sure I'd been playing for about 3 hours when it was telling me 1. And then it jumped up. So I don't know what they're doing. But that aside, yeah, really enjoying it. Like you said, I think sort of puzzle platformer is kind of the the best description, exploration, and that complete sense of discovery, whether that's finding hidden areas or suddenly thinking, oh, I wonder if I can use that object to do that weird thing. Oh my God, it works.
Yeah.
That is so much fun. Had quite a few of those kind of aha moments throughout my experience so far. So yeah, really enjoyed that. I've been lost quite a lot as well. I'm at a point now in the game, I think I'm quite close to the end point, although I hear that there's lots more surprises still to discover without spoiling it for myself or anyone else. But now I've kind of really at the point where I sort of think I know the tools that I'm using, and so it is a remarkably different game, how you suddenly feel a lot more overpowered, a lot more powerful, a lot less helpless. Great game. Really enjoying it. Sorry, James, you were saying.
No, I was just going to say, I've found three tools so far. I think there might be six. There's 6 boxes in your inventory. And all the 3 tools enable you to do lots more stuff than what you could do before, which is nice. One of them you find really quickly, like on the second or third screen.
Yep.
You get something to scare away some baddies. That's nice, a nice little touch. And then a real game changer is the one I found last night, which enables you to get to places you couldn't get to before, because it helps you to jump around a bit, which is nice. So yeah, really good game. I like it. If you look at the Steam reviews and everything else, everyone's gone for like 90% or 9 out of 10, depending on which scoring system you prefer to use. And they're probably about the same box. The graphics obviously kill it. Be interesting to see if you could make a graphically amazing version of the game with wonderful sounds, and if it would still be interesting, or whether if the gameplay is interesting because the graphics and sound are so abysmal. So interesting. I'm glad we chose it as the game of the month, because some probably wouldn't necessarily have played automatically, but some I've enjoyed playing. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's the whole point. So yeah, listeners, if you gave it a go, let us know. We did have some interaction on Threads. I remember a couple of comments, which I stupidly didn't write down, because one of them was a really nicely poetic way to put it. Something like, "I can't think of another place I'd rather be completely lost in." And so I thought that was quite nice. I mean, it is a sort of damp, dark well, so in real life, I think there's plenty of other places, but I kind of get what he was saying, and that was he's got a much better way with words than either of us. Maybe we should do a podcast or something. Right. Anything else you've been up to? You mentioned finishing Disco Elysium.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that one. And like I said before, I might have mentioned it, I can't remember. There's a review of Disco Elysium on the website, www.8andgames.co.uk. Please do check it out. They're all less than 1,000 words. They're like snippets of interviews, so you can read them in like 5 minutes. Most of them are quite amusing as well, or they will be. So Disco Elysium, I mentioned last month, involved waking up in a hotel room in Revachol, which is some made-up place in the middle of nowhere, which is a bit abandoned. They had a civil war a few years ago, and it kind of destroyed the place. Awful. So you wake up in a hotel room covered in vomit. You've trashed your hotel room for some reason, and you've no idea why you're there, or what your name is, or what you do for a living. So the first few minutes/hours are spent fumbling around trying to work out what you're there for. And then you meet another detective from another precinct who sort of helps you on your way. You're kind of there to solve a murder. So that was your reason for being there. But then over the following few hours, you work out that you're not wonderfully popular in the new town, because you've taken so many drink and drugs that you have been a bit of a knob over the previous few days. And you've not really got anyone there to solve a crime, because you kind of forgot you were there to solve a crime. You just did karaoke and took drugs and did drugs. None of that makes any sense. But yeah, so interesting premise. I think I mentioned last time there's some strange gameplay mechanics, which Scotty discussed with us. So he found a top 10 YouTube list of interesting gameplay mechanics, and Disco Elysium was on there. Okay. So one of the strange things, there's a certain aspect of the game. So very early on, you have to jump over a little balcony thingy to get to your jacket, which you see hanging from midair. And to achieve that, it rolls a dice. And the more score you have in that particular skill check area, so for this one, to make the jump successfully, you need a high savoir-faire rating for some reason. So the higher your rating there, the higher chance you've got of the dice rolling successfully and you completing the challenge. Whereas if you've got a very low savoir-faire rating, you will just fall off the edge and die, as I discovered on the first few attempts. So interestingly, vomit-covered trousers do not increase your savoir-faire rating. So if you remove your trousers, you get a higher savoir-faire score, and you can then make the jump. So it's best to jump in the cold with no trousers on. Just a little hint for any new viewers out there. So really interesting game. It's got lots of strange gameplay mechanics like that one. Really interesting story. Lots of race stuff, lots of political stuff, lots of interesting bits that you can talk to people about. loads of swearing, really odd amount of swearing, and really adult themes and content. So don't play it with anyone who isn't into that kind of stuff. And then there's some mystery, strange bits at the end, and then depending on the choices you've made and how successful you've been in certain areas, the whole of the final scene is completely different depending on what type of game you've played through. Great game. It's definitely sort of a 9 out of 10 one. It's not like anything I've played before. Very adult, very interesting, very humorous. Lots of great plots and scripts and funny characters. And yeah, so unless you're easily offended by stuff, I'd recommend giving it a go because it's really different and really interesting. And as one of our viewers, i.e. you, put on Facebook the other day, it's only £3.49 in the Steam summer sale at the moment. So even if you haven't got a lot of money, £3.49 for the PC version of it is a no-brainer, really, unless you've not got $3.49, in which case I feel very bad for you because $3.49 is a very small amount. It's also on PlayStation Plus for free as well. So if you've got that, give it a go and let us know what you think. Great game. I know you wanted to play it one day, G. I guess you've not started yet.
No, I haven't. But yeah, I've got a version of it on Switch. So I'm going on holiday later this year. I thought that might be a good holiday game in the sort of little gaps in between doing other stuff. And I'm toying with the idea of spending my £3.49 to get it on PC so I can play it on my ROG Ally instead, because that's got the voiceovers that you talked about last month, which does sound pretty good. And yeah, I think I'll probably go for that, but we'll see.
Yeah, Disco Elysium, the final cut, is the updated version with the voiceovers and the additional stuff. So yeah, that's the one to go for. For £3.49, give it a go.
Awesome.
So that's one game. You go for one game, Giles, and then I'll come back to me and say another game.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, my other game, really this one, I should have planned it a bit better because it's also very puzzle heavy. This one is a complete puzzler, but I've been playing Humanity, and I'm pretty sure you've played it or Joshua played it from memory.
Yeah, Joshua played it on the PSVR 2.
Yes.
Just to give it a go, and it's very confusing on there because, yeah, you see it from really weird angles. It's really hard to pick up, but I think the non-PSVR version is a bit easier, I think. Yeah,
so again, really, really enjoying it. It's much more, whereas Animal Well is, tempting to just keep playing because there's no sort of obvious end points or sort of chapter ends. It's just continuous. Humanity is very much level based, so it's quite nice to just, if you've got a few minutes, get through one level, although now it's getting quite hard. They are taking me a lot longer. For anyone who remembers Lemmings back in the 90s, I guess, it has some common threads with Lemmings. You're kind of a dog, a spirit dog of some description, and you're trying to guide a steady stream of, humanity from where they come into the level to sort of an exit point, a bit like Lemmings. But it's quite different, a very different vibe. It's got a philosophical kind of background to it. There's a lot of talk about free will, and I think I just completed Fate, a section of the game talking about fate. That was quite interesting, and the whole presentation is very chilled. It's very kind of just very relaxing. It's quite a sort of almost a cold and clinical presentation, lots of whites and blues, and it's quite an abstract visual game, but really enjoying it. Puzzles, mostly environmental type stuff, so you're either moving, sort of directing the stream of people around using jumps or turns, or there are things like blocks and stuff that you can move within the environment as well. And it's just really good fun. Enjoyed the whole thing, and would love to give it a try in VR, although, as you said, I suspect it's quite a different game. So maybe just stick to my 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions, but on screen.
Yeah, we really enjoyed using the PSVR controllers on it because we felt that added a bit of something to the game in terms of the gestures and stuff. But the actual wearing a headset was quite trippy because it does move quite fast and there's lots going on around you. So yeah, looked like a really good game. So I'll get back into that again one day, I'm sure.
Cool. Anything else?
Next one for me? Yeah, Bramble. We talked about Bramble, didn't we? I've posted stuff on social media about Bramble. Love that game. Great game. Been trying to play it for a long time. Took it on, what was it? Xbox, whatever it's called, Game Pass, isn't it? Yeah. And downloaded it onto the PC and played a tiny little bit of it a few months ago, when it first came to Game Pass probably. And then forgot to play it for a while because we were doing this podcast and kept playing different games to talk about. And I remembered liking it. It's quite atmospheric and like Norse fairy tales and that kind of stuff. So very interesting, very dark, literally dark in terms of the graphics, but also dark in terms of the themes. But then forgot to play it and then got back into it recently when I saw that it was leaving Game Pass in 3 days' time. And I was like, oh no. I'd only literally done half an hour of it at first, and I thought, well, I really need to crack on with this game. Fortunately, it only lasts about 5-6 hours, so it's quite a short one. I know you call them palate cleansers, so I mentioned that again. But it's a nice, short, sweet game. But it's not sweet at all because it's dark and miserable. So you're a small boy, you wake up in the night, and your small sister, who's a small girl, has climbed out the window, seemingly, and disappeared out into the woods to do a bit of an adventure. And you're like, oh, I better go and find her. So you nip out, and you start crawling around the forest, as a small boy with blonde hair does, and then you find various monsters and rats trying to chop you up, and you're in sort of like a butcher's full of body parts and stuff. Like, bleh. So you keep wandering around. Much better on a PC using a PlayStation 5 controller or an Xbox controller. I hated it at first using WASD. I've always hated using WASD. I haven't got the fingers in the right place for it. So it's much better using a controller and mapping the keys out, even though some bits didn't work quite as planned. And it's just really interesting. Like I said, really atmospheric. Some of the, what do you call them, level bosses are quite interesting, although a little bit samey after a while. So you go through sort of 3 rounds of doing the same thing to kill them each time, which is a bit tedious, but interesting. Characters are really interesting. Like I said, just interesting to see. I said interesting 3 times now, blimey. Really interesting 4 times, looking into the books, because every now and again you see a book in a library and it gives you a bit about the story, so you can sort of track how you've come from where you were to where it is and how civilization has moved on in that way, in a sort of Norse fairy tale type way. And yeah, I just loved it. At the end of it, it's a really nice, sweet ending. Like I said, the baddies are good, the story's good, the graphics are really nice. It's quite quick moving, and just lovely. I know you played it before, Giles, and found it very similar. But yeah, it's probably one of my favourite games, and I played it and finished it in probably the shortest I've played a game in a long time, because I was really into it and really wanted to move on and get to the end. So really good.
Devoured it like a hungry fox.
Yes, exactly that. Exactly that. So yeah, certainly one of my favourite games, and I think you found it similar, didn't you, before?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't that long ago I played it, but when you described it as lovely and then sort of wrinkled your face and you were like, yeah, it's lovely if you like, terror and children being put in terrible positions. But it's not. It's got that, like a fairy tale. It's got that somehow it more or less just about gets away without being really, really, well, it's certainly not offensive. It's just got that, it's terrifying, and but really enjoyed that one. So we've had a good run this month by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and also with that game, you kind of go along in the scary parts and they're fun, and then you get to the really dark parts, and you're like, oh, that's really dark. You're sort of sitting there watching and going, that's really dark. And then you're sort of glad when that section finishes because it's really, really dark. Then the only other game I've played this month is an interesting one, completely different, called News Tower.
Ooh.
So it's very much a PC game. You have inherited a newspaper from your uncle, I think, that's failed abysmally, and you're bringing it back up to scratch from the ground up. And you buy printing devices, and you seek stories from around the globe, and you decide where the stories are going to go in the newspaper, and you appease mob bosses and mayors and stuff. So it's very much a simulation type game, running a newspaper company. So I played about 2 or 3 hours of that one evening, and really good fun. And again, the Steam reviews are great. They're like 90%, so must be doing something right. And you just keep building up and up in a tower format, and more levels, and you put more staff in and do more stuff. So really good fun. I recommend News Tower for anyone who likes newspapers and towers.
Nice. That sounds very much like a James game. As soon as you basically, there's a formula, but you insert different industry into that simulation. DJ, newspapers, nightclub. The nightclub one sounded fun, but there's a reason why these things work, and they can be very addicting, can't they?
I just want to be useful, Giles. I want to achieve something in life outside of the podcast and the brand new website.
Obviously, yeah. What was the website address again?
Oh, I can't remember. I have to look it up. It's got Ace and Games in it somewhere. www.aceandgames.co.uk, of course.
My attempt to shameless plug. Well, I'm glad you brought in the mood. I was going to say my last choice was also a nice light one, but I'll leave it here because it wasn't very. We haven't played very much, but Hannah and I have started playing Lego Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So Very,
Awesome.
very much enjoying that, and we'll update another time. But yeah, it's taken us a while to find something, or to get back to it really, and find something that we both wanted to play after Unravel. And Lego Harry Potter has the benefit of being quite straightforward but very charming,
Yes.
and most importantly, although it's 3-dimensional, it has a static camera,
Yeah.
which movable 3D cameras are currently Hannah's nemesis. So this is very good. We got quite far through, probably the first film, but it is the full collection, so we've got plenty to play. So we'll be updating a future time. But yes,
Yeah.
just to prove that we don't only play dark, terrifying, downright traumatizing games. Sounds like the Newspaper Tower?
News Tower.
News Tower and Lego
Yeah.
Harry Potter sound like they were our breath of sunlight in our otherwise scary month.
I've played all the Harry Potter games before with Joshua over the years, as I think I mentioned before. So we played Lego Jurassic World and all the other Lego possible games over the years, Marvel Avengers, Superheroes 1 and 2. So all the games are very similar, obviously very different characters, but the gameplay is very, very, very similar in each one. And equally enjoyable, really good, nicely well done. I think they're all made by Take-Two, aren't they? And they're all very good. So yeah, I'm glad you picked that one up. There's also another one coming soon, isn't there? Another Lego game, which we probably mention in a minute, as a nice segue into our future games coming section.
Very, very nice. Well, yes. We should do our game of the month for July, is the only thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, why not?
I didn't know quite where to put that. We're still working on this newish feature, listeners. But seeing as we talked about Animal Well for June, we did put a couple of options out there for this month. Thank you for anyone who commented. But I think we decided on Still Waits the Deep for this month, didn't we, James?
Yeah, we did. Again, it looks quite dark, doesn't it, in some ways?
Yeah. So this one, if you don't know, everybody, it's made by the Chinese Room. They're the people behind... oh, gosh. Gone. Everyone's gone to Ratchet and Dear Esther are the two names I was thinking of. This is why I should write notes. But two sort of walking simulator types, although Still Waits the Deep is a kind of horror... adventure set on a oil rig, I think in the 80s, with lots of Scottish accents. Got really good reviews, and it'll be a nice narrative experience compared to Animal Well. So if you've got Game Pass, or if you pick it up on one of the other platforms and you play it this month, we will have a go and let us know what you think. Looking forward to that. Does that look like your sort of thing, James?
Yeah, no idea. I do like narrative stuff, and I do like scary stuff. And obviously I like dark stuff in my little basement in the hallway. So yeah, I've been whipping out on that and giving it at least 4 hours over the next month as contractually obliged. And yeah, hopefully it's good. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. It sounds really interesting. So why not give it a go? And like you said, very different than Animal Well, but equally probably in the dark and fairly miserable, probably. We'll see. I just wanted to shout out quickly as well. There's no space for it, but our friend Scotty mentioned that he pretty much finished, I think, The Last of Us Part 2. And said he much preferred it to The Last of Us Part 1, which is interesting, because I think me and you are a bit more torn on it, because it did seem to drag on a little bit the second one, but it's both awesome games. I think Scotty played them on the updated PS5 versions, which are obviously a lot better graphically than the original ones. But yeah, great games, both really enjoyed them, and he seemed to have got a lot out of them. So another person who's benefited from our amazing recommendations through the Elysium Games podcast.
Absolutely.
That's why we're here.
And talk of narrative games, that is... well, maybe we could segue. Let's mix it up. Let's move round into our main topic, because that was one of the sort of golden age, really, of PlayStation sort of narrative-driven games, wasn't it? They were Last of Us, God of War, Horizon, and Spider-Man as well as Spider-Man 2. So that sort of was Sony's bread and butter, really, on the PlayStation 5. But coming out of summer showcase season, PlayStation don't really have anything like that lined up particularly, and we talked about their state of play last month, but they've sort of gone with, as you alluded to, there's a bit more sort of family friendly stuff coming from them. We saw massive stream with loads of games from Xbox, and we also saw Summer Game Fest. Nintendo Direct had a stream very recently, So wondered if you had any general thoughts, and then we're gonna do some picks, aren't we? Going to pick out some of our favourites.
Yeah, we are. Hopefully it goes well. There's very limited research done during football this afternoon.
Excellent.
Yeah, so the concept I like these days. I think I mentioned in previous episodes I've never really heard of the whole concept before because I missed out running video games for a long time and only just got back into them recently. But it's good fun. It's nice to see what's coming up. The only annoying thing is quite a few of the games aren't coming until like late 2025 or even some in 2026, which is a long way away. So it's nice to get excited about them now, but in the space of the next year and a year and a half, they might go down a toilet. The developing house might get disbanded and they might run out of money and none of the games might come out. So in some ways, it's nice to see what's coming. It's quite nice to build the excitement up, but I probably prefer it when they're coming out in the next 3 months. So you know that it's actually coming, and B, you can like shortlist it so you can get it when it comes out, and C, you haven't got too long to wait. So I'm a bit annoyed that quite a few of them are late 25, early 26. That's my only thoughts on it, really, but nice to see. Quite exciting.
Yeah, no, I think that's really fair, and historically, I think companies have been quite guilty of sort of putting out like pre-rendered trailers for something that doesn't come for years. I mean, the most I heard on another podcast actually that there was a game called Duke Nukem Forever. Do you know Duke Nukem at all? So Duke Nukem Forever was previously the record holder in terms of time between a game being announced and actually released, and it was certainly in the high teen years. It was beyond 15 years between announcement and release date, but it's just been passed by Ubisoft for Beyond Good and Evil 2, which was apparently announced in let me get this right, 2008. So it is now the longest in development game ever, or certainly of the big ones, and it's still apparently on its way, although no one's seen anything of it for years and years. So yeah, that sort of long lead time, nice to get hyped for something, but yeah, you're right, better to have something coming up soon, and so maybe that has influenced what you've picked. Do you want to go first or second, James? How much time do you need?
Oh, I think there's a couple. I think there's going to be a couple that you're going to pick the same as me.
Okay.
I'd imagine. Should we start with mixtape, just because it sounded quite different and fun?
Excellent. Yeah, that's on mine too. Go for it.
I know you've got some views on mixtape, but it was sort of some students that are at college together, I believe, is the concept. Probably in America. It's got to be America, and it's always in America. And they're sort of going to their final meetup, sort of final occasion before they leave to go on to the next stage of their life, and using the medium of a mixtape, so lots of songs from the 90s, they sort of evoke different memories of stuff they've done in the past and how their friendship came together and the things they've experienced as a group and individually. So you play sort of different bits based on songs that come up that evoke different memories. And obviously, as we know, songs can evoke lots of different memories. So whenever a song comes up from the 90s or 80s or even the noughties these days, always hate that term, you do think of memories and games and places you've been and people you've seen and where you were when you first heard that song or a particular poignant memory. So it's a really interesting concept. I think we both like the idea of there being some 90s music in there. And it's kind of your kind of thing, isn't it? It's like a bit Edith Finchy in format in terms of you go for a sort of a narrative story and there's lots to learn about. Whether there be lots to do for me, who knows? But it's your kind of thing. G, talk about it some more, please. Go for
it. Yeah, no, I think you've kind of highlighted it, and I think at the moment it's just got a lot of potential. It really grabbed me it was in the Xbox showcase. It was presented. I'm pretty sure it's going to be multi-platform. I think it was on Game Pass or coming to Game Pass, but if not. It'll be there to buy on I think all platforms. I think it was just announced at the Xbox showcase, and I think the way it looked was immediately striking. Potential flashbacks to Harold Halibut in the sense that it had that sort of slight stop motion kind of animation feel, but very different in terms of the graphical style. So it's quite strange that there's been a few games now that kind of have that similar either stop motion or that sort of Into the Spider-Verse like low frame rate animation style. But yeah, looked striking, sounded great, really hit a sort of an atmosphere that I was intrigued by. obviously a bit of nostalgia always works, and the character focus. So yeah, that was high on my list. I thought it looked like a great one. Should we go backwards and forwards?
Yeah, do your one.
Let's do that. So I'm going to pick, because overall, I've got to say, and you will, listeners will recall, I tend to be slightly more Xbox player, but own all three consoles and PC. James, I think, tends to play a bit more on PlayStation and PC. So a lot of mine are from the Xbox showcase, but Star Wars Outlaws from Ubisoft, really still, it wasn't announced, it's been coming out for a while. In fact, that is a game that's coming out at the end of August this year. So ticks the box that James was talking about, get excited for something that's actually really soon. Slight caveat to that, I haven't actually finished or played Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I still need to do, so I should probably just get on with that first. But Star Wars Outlaws looks really good. It looks like it's kind of taking the Ubisoft formula, which can be a bit monotonous and a little bit sort of copy and paste with Assassin's Creed and Far Cry's and those sorts of things. But it looks like to me anyway, it looks like a sort of well-paced, good length Star Wars adventure, and it's set outside of the Jedi, so it's more of a sort of Han Solo type scoundrel, a little bit more kind of the rough edges of the galaxy far, far away. And the trailers for that, the video that they showed, the gameplay that they showed of that, had me really intrigued and might get me to drop a month of Ubisoft Plus subscription, because you don't have to buy that. You could just subscribe to Ubisoft Plus for the month. And there are a few other games that I quite fancy trying there too. So that was my first one.
Lovely. There's a few from last month. We talked about last month, so I won't go into those details too much. But obviously, Astrobot we mentioned last month, didn't we? As Astrobot's an awesome platformer.
Yeah.
Still probably aimed at children or teens, but equally enjoyable for an adult. And so the first full-length Astrobot game is coming out soon. We mentioned before it used to be on the PlayStation VR, the original one. Was kind of groundbreaking on there and probably sold more units than virtually every other game on there, because it was really interesting the way they did it using a headset. Very different in terms of a platform, because you got to look left and right and up and down and did things so you could see in a sort of 360-degree format rather than just up and down. So that's coming out soon. It's meant to be really long, have lots of fun PlayStation themes from the past. Not in VR, this one, which is a bit of a shame, I suppose, because it could have used it to sell some PSVRs, but they've chosen not to. So it's probably a proper full-length PlayStation 5 game, using all the technology, all the fun parts of the joypad, which I always like. Giles hates it, but I love the feature of the joypad. I like things waving in my hand and doing bits and pieces. So that'll be interesting, and it's nice to see it's going to be a long game, because Joshua played the first one when it came out on PlayStation 5 and completed it in a few hours, because it was a very short game, but very interesting. But this is going to be in...
Sorry. Listeners, I don't know, I've just got the giggles because you said I like things waving in my hand. And apologies, because I've just completely broken James while he's trying to do his bit. So carry on if you can.
It wasn't even intentional. No. I'm meant to control that. Because it does fun things in control, don't it, as you know. So yeah, looking forward to Astrobot. Josh was looking forward to it too, so we'll probably play that together, which is nice to get a bit of me and him game time together on a game that we can both enjoy. So Astrobot. Also from last month, we talked about Silent Hill 2, even though the graphics look a bit dodgy. Looks like one of those Tesla vehicles, doesn't it? Sort of very polygony rather than sleek and sophisticated. But the game itself should be fun. I've never played Silent Hill 2, the original one, so I'm looking forward to a remaster just so I can experience it. Because again, it's meant to be very atmospheric, fairly dark and deep, and probably miserable as well. My kind of game these days.
I was going to say, somewhere there's a psychologist listening to this thinking, we need to check these guys are okay.
Where did it all go wrong? So those two things are the only ones on PlayStation 5 that sort of jumped out, and I'm sort of here doing my bit to rep the PlayStation 5. But obviously, all the ones that Giles mentioned in a minute will probably come out on the PlayStation 5 at some stage anyway, due to Xbox's new goal of releasing everything on all the platforms. So what's your next one, Gene?
Yeah, well, who knows? That is an interesting wrinkle, and I think that's the thing that's sort of hanging over the whole Xbox sort of ecosystem at the moment. But for now, I think they said they were announcing 4, which have come out already. I'm sure there will be more. I think it's naive to think anything else, but it seems like their strategy is still to hold some things back. So it will be interesting what comes out and how quickly, I think, is the big thing. So I suspect things will come to other platforms, but maybe not a launch. So yeah, I'm glad you said Astrobot because that was my thought when we talked about The Last of Us briefly just now, and talked about I mentioned about Sony previously being quite strong in the kind of third-person narrative adventure. It does feel like they've pivoted a bit towards a more family-friendly run. It might just be how our release dates have lined up, but between that and the Lego Horizon game that you alluded to earlier as well, really does feel like PlayStation's kind of first party lineup anyway is a lot more focused on family friendly stuff, which I'm a big fan of diversifying out, and if they can get all of those releasing in a sort of more regular interspersed cadence, that would be great. I've gone, I think in general, I'm glad we mentioned mixtape because that was a bit lighter. But Fable was the next one for me. That I think does have a release date of next year from memory. I think they gave it a 2025 release date. Did you ever play the earlier games, James?
No.
So there were three-ish games on the Xbox 360 days, I think. And really good. They've got a really it's a RPG with a very English sense of humour, or British sense of humour, I should say. Lots of nonsense. The first trailer for Fable, the reboot, had Richard Ayoade as the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk, essentially. That's very good. Let that one up. And this one, I recognised the voice of the character in the video, and I thought, I can't place that. It's from a comedy somewhere. It was Super Hands from Peep Show. And as soon as I placed it, then you could kind of see it in the animation and everything as well. Fable just looks great. Looks absolutely stunning. It's a sort of action RPG. It's not very... I'd say it's not very deep in terms of mechanics, but that was meant as a compliment. It wasn't not too sort of overly complex. Looks very accessible. Looks really fun, and looks like they have taken what was good about the original series and then maybe layered on more sort of fables that you might know and recognise, like the Jack and the Beanstalk situation. So really excited for that one. I'm really excited to see that we don't have too much longer to wait.
Yeah, sounds good. Were the originals all called Fable then?
Fable 2, Fable 3. And there was,
makes sense.
I think, a spin-off of some kind, and then they've just gone back to just Fable for this one. So I think it's a complete reboot rather than anything. Well, certainly if the trailers have had anything to do with it, if they're actually included in the game, it's going to be a very different world. So looking forward to that one. Time is relatively tight, James. How many have you got more? We could, I think I could certainly go on and on about this, and I would struggle to just pick one or two more, but I'll try and do that. How about you? How have you?
I was going to say you sold me on Fable, so I'll add that to my list.
Good.
Yeah, a couple of little ones. You've already mentioned Lego Horizon Adventures, which is another Lego game, and they're always good fun, so we'd no doubt get that one, and me and Joshua whack through that one. We mentioned a few months ago Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Obviously, we've got an even longer trailer now, which still looks really good. Captures some of the essence of the original, which is nice. So very much looking forward to that one, or whatever format it comes out. I think that's Xbox, isn't it? Knowing that, it'll be Xbox and PC.
Yeah, Xbox and PC. Yep.
Yep, cool. So looking forward to that one. And then just to flag a Switch one, because we don't talk about Switch much, even though we have one. Obviously, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is the first Zelda game ever where you can play as Zelda.
Yep.
So that'll be a bit different. We've got two of the previous Zelda games before, so it'd be nice to see this one and bit of a different format, so looking forward to that one. And then just very quickly on two, Age of Mythology Retold. My kind of game from the olden days. I used to spend a load of time playing Age of Empires and Age of Mythology, the original one. And it's an updated version on various platforms, so that looks really good. Obviously the graphics are miles better in the last 12 years than they were back then. And that's a sort of a strategy, combat, discovery type game, so looking forward to that one. And finally, last but not least, is Atomfall. Atomfall. I like it because it looks very British. All the trailers show phone boxes and stuff to make sure you definitely know you're in England. And it's kind of a bit Fallout-y in some ways because there's a sort of a nuclear disaster up north somewhere, which would be very unfortunate, obviously. And then you have to survive and stuff. So that's some way off. I think that's late 25 or early 26, miles away, that one. But it looks really interesting as a concept. So nearer the time, that'll probably be quite fun. And that's it for me. I'm going to wrap up the quick ones there.
Awesome, thank you for that. And yeah, I think Titanfall is dated for 2025, so if it manages to stick to it, that's good news. All good choices, all things that I had on my list as well. And yeah, shout out to the Nintendo Direct in general, because as well as the as well as the as well as the Zelda game, there was a couple of other things I thought looked kind of fun. Metroid Prime 4, Mario Luigi Brothership, which I thought looked like it might be co-op, which makes it more interesting for me.
Yeah.
But I think the sort of press so far have said, "Oh, we're not confirming that. It's you can play it as one player, but it looks very much like it's a bit of a two-hander." So that looked really good. And just generally, Nintendo, looking to potentially bring out a new Switch maybe next year is the suggestion. And so they seem to have a really, really strong showing. They whatever they're doing it right. They can still pump out some really good games on the Switch and a great variety. So yeah, really, really glad you mentioned them, because yes, we don't talk about them very much.
No. To be fair, Nintendo does have some massive IPs that never generally appear on many other platforms. So yeah, they deal with it very well for making games. They always have done, haven't they? So back since the 80s when we all started gaming, they've been going pretty strong ever since. Even though they don't really do much anymore in terms of the larger consoles, they still are massive in terms of in terms of the longevity. Also, I'm going to quickly mention, it's in none of those, but a game that I want to play this month between me and Sarah is on the Switch. So the little segue, Switch and PC, so no other platforms, is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. And that looks really great. So I think you come into like this kind of big building, like a castle or something, and you set some tasks in order to get out of it. And there's loads and loads of puzzles. There's like hundreds of puzzles in there. And it's meant to be awesome. All the ratings are really good. It's the kind of thing that me and Sarah could play on the couch together using the Switch and plug it into the TV. So that'd be fun. So it's quite dark, unfortunately. You just go back to that one. It's meant to be sort of a lots of horror type stuff in this big mansiony thing, and you solve loads of puzzles to escape different bits. So it's kind of like an escape room, but also like a puzzle game, and it looks really fascinating. So that's 20 quid at the moment. It's not free, which is annoying me because I only like free stuff. But I might fork out the 20 Spondulicus and go for it on the PC or Switch. Probably Switch in front of the telly. The end.
Spondulicus. I like it.
Not said that for a long time, blimey. Where did that come from?
And depending on how much time I've got to edit, I might chop this around, because just finishing off on the showcase stuff. I had a few to go through. Sorry, James. So anyway, so finishing off on the showcase, just a couple more. Perfect Dark, I thought looked great, but falls into your category of too far away for my liking. Gears, I mentioned considering playing the original Gears of War for this month, because I thought the trailer for Gears of War E-Day, which is Emergence Day, if anyone knows the lore of that series, looked fantastic. Got very excited. And then the other one I was just going to say was South of Midnight, which, in terms of something a bit different, it's set in the deep south of America. It's sort of got that kind of bayou, a little bit of the folklore around that. There was a sort of giant crocodile thing, but sort of probably more friendly than I'm describing it. But he was a baddie of some kind. But the hero of that game, it doesn't look like you kind of fight people through weapons. You fight them through kind of a healing magic. It just seems a little bit more gentle, but also looks stunning. Really cool art style, really cool setting. Just always like to shout out things that seem a bit different. So yeah, showcase season was pretty impressive, I thought, for a year where the industry is kind of generally being accused of having a quieter year. There is a lot going on, and like you said, some of it is further out, but also lots for us to play. Good stuff. So before we finish, we should just quickly jump back to the freebies for this month. On PlayStation Plus, we've got Borderlands 3, we've got NHL 24 and Among Us. On Game Pass, they haven't announced very much this month, but weirdly, the three games that I'm looking forward to come out within a day of each other, so I'm not quite sure who's in charge of scheduling. But Flintlock, Siege of Dawn, Dungeons of Hinterland, which I mentioned on a previous episode, and Path of the Goddess. And I think you mentioned a game that you're looking forward to. Was it Lorelei and the This is where we try and recut the episode
Yeah,
if possible.
clever. Nice.
Although it would have been clever had I not just given the game
Fluffed
away.
it, yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we're just gonna roll through. Imagine, listeners, in your head, if we were to take that section and just move it in here, and then you can do the editing for yourselves. There we go. How's that for an interactive session?
Amazing. I went downhill when I talked about stuff waving in my hand.
Oh, I like that. That was my favourite.
Been a nightmare
bit.
since then.
Yeah, I mean,
lovely.
it's when we got demonetised, but apart from that, it was fine. Right, James, I've taken us right off rails, but we've also kept Joshua up for another 10 minutes like normal.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else you're looking forward to or wanted to mention, or shall we wrap up the show?
No, I think that's largely it. Obviously, we've got the Switch 2 coming and also a handheld Xbox in the future, haven't we? So that's always fun to see new potential things coming out. We mentioned last month about the PSVR being able to use its technology on the PC to get all the Steam games in there, so that'll be fun as well. So no doubt I'll give that a go. And I also downloaded that thing you talked about last month, Hellblade. Was it Hellblade?
Yes, Hellblade.
Yeah, so I downloaded the original one because you said to try that one first, because I'm looking forward to hearing the voices in my head to accompany all the dark thoughts and the dark games I've been playing. So I downloaded that one, but it took so long that I started playing that News Tower, which is why I spotted that when I was waiting for the other one to download. So I've got another game in my library that I've got nowhere near playing, so thanks for that. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing this month, is a puzzle game, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and Hellblade 1, and lots of other normal stuff that real people do in real life. And maintaining the website and adding lots of content to the website. If I haven't mentioned it, which I might have done, it's www.akesandgames.co.uk. Check it.
Excellent. And obviously playing Still Wakes the Deep, which is on game for July.
Yeah, good shout, yeah. And that.
Well, listeners, as we mentioned, we were fitting this episode in around sort of some life commitments. We came in straight after a very weird and highly stressful game of international football, where England just about squeaked a win. Squawk? No, squeaked. I was just thinking there really should be like a past participle of squeak, shouldn't there? We'll come back to that. Squawk. Let's go with squawk. And let's get the squawk out of here. So that's the show. Please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. I consider giving us a 5-star review, even despite this episode. We would love that. Help push us up those searches. We really do appreciate it. And we appreciate a follow, interaction on X, Threads, usual social platforms at Aches and Games. Or on our Facebook page, which James does a great job of managing. Some excellent memes, some excellent conversation over there, and the website, which I think he might mention again. You can email us at akesandgamespod@gmail.com. I'm Giles Nicholson, Giles went west on those things, and James, over to you for the final say.
Yeah, Giles mentioned the Facebook page, and there's some amazing memes coming up. There's like 7 or 8 that are going to blow your gaming socks off over the next month, so do be prepared to buy some new socks after that one.
Wow.
Also, if you need any more recommendations to check out the podcast, my wife finally listened to it, Sarah, over the last few weeks, and she said, yes, it's not bad. So, so if you want some recommendations, that's great. She's binge listened to the first 3 episodes on her way to work and back, so she's quite keen on checking out the rest, and said they're all very good, and it's actually quite interesting. All good there. Like I said, check out the website because loads of good fun on there. Me and Giles will be putting lots of reviews and other fun stuff. And it also gives you a little links to all our social media in one place. So if you just go to www.akesandgames.co.uk, you can click on all the nice little icons at the bottom and check out all our social media presence across the social media verse. So that's awesome. That's it for me. I'm looking forward to playing lots more games this month, including the one that's our game of the month, which I've again forgotten the title of. It's something to do with deep. And I know it's very dark and it's on a rig somewhere in the ocean. So awesome. Let us know if you play that one and let us know what you think, like you all did about Animal Well. It was really good as well. So have a great time, everyone, and have a lovely month.
Exactly. Thanks, everyone. See you next month. First Friday of the month for more Aches and Games. Bye.
Bye.